Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Kogar, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Between the Headlines on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we're going to be looking at some current issues that are making headlines in Liberia, starting with the Nimba County senatorial by-elections. We see the report that money is changing hands, and the vice president who was campaigning for one of the candidates prayed at the grave of the fallen Senator Prince Johnson for intervention. We're going to be talking about that. What's in the campaign finance laws? Is it okay to give money or to give money to people to vote for you? Also, we're going to be looking at President Boakai talking about mob justice. President Boakai decries mob justice in Liberia. He urged Liberians to abandon mob justice and raise public awareness against it. Instead, he wants people to look at the rule of law. Okay? Well, what has President Boakai done about mob justice in Liberia? Or is it talking one thing and doing the other? We're going to take a look at that. We still have more things to cover. The CMC political leader, Musa Hassan Bility, was in Manchester, the UK, to both keynote the Liberian Mandingo Association in UK and also launched the CMC Global. While there, he made some remarks that circulating on social media, people are criticizing, and he said, no, you are misinterpreting what I'm saying. Well, we're going to look at that also. Let me welcome Mr. Gabriel M. Carter. He's the FOL Global Banking and Finance expert and also host of FOL Marketplace. Welcome, Gabriel.
Dennis, good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also welcome FOL political analyst J. Victor Nambwe, who is joining us from the nation's capital, Monrovia. Welcome, Vic.
Hey, Dennis. It is good to be here. It's good to be back in LIB, where we're about to lose connectivity for about 6 days, but it is good to be back home.
And today is Easter Monday, so there's holiday.
It is, and also we're mourning the passing of His Holiness, the Pope. Deepest sympathies to all Catholics around the world.
Right, man. Profound sympathy to all Catholics. And do you have Easter Tuesday tomorrow too? Because you love to stay home in Miami. Let me welcome Mr. Jerome Gaiman. He's just returning from Manchester where he was part of the CMC launch in Manchester.
That's not how you normally introduce him. The unabashed sedition.
Yeah,
You
no,
forget that
that's what
title.
I'm coming to, because
Okay.
the unabashed and unapologetic sedition has crossed carpet. He's now the unabashed and unapologetic
Ah,
citizen
man
movement
has a
for
folder.
change.
He
And
has a
some
folder.
people are start calling them CMCN. Welcome, Mr. Gavin.
It's an honor to be on your show. It's a great thing to be back in the United States. You had a great time in the UK, and Liberia is poised to be the nation of hope, the nation of doers, and I like the theme, which was courage to lead and the strength to serve. That was the theme of the launching of the CMC Global.
Thank
And
you.
I was elected Vice President CMC USA for administration, and I am willing, ready to serve.
Thank you. And by the way, we are Mr. Gilman, who has crossed carpet, will be my guest one-on-one with me. I want to know how he has moved from unabashed sedition to unabashed CMC.
I didn't cross carpet, I crossed the ocean.
All right, that's even better. Let me also welcome Mr. Abu Boakai Decries. He always try to omit the first name to, make Boakai pronounced, but we know, nothing lasts forever. Boakai will leave office. I don't know what you're going to do. But welcome, Mr. Decries.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If it is possible, I have extended Mr. Bility an invitation, which he accepted. So possibly he can join us. We'll keep monitoring my WhatsApp messages to see what he says. But we are expecting Mr. Bility to be here and clarify his statement. He said he had taken his statement out of context. Well, this is where I want us to start. The election, by-election in Nimba County. And two things I want us to look at is this idea of money. But just on the election is tomorrow. So I want to go around the room for your prediction and why. Let me start with J. Victor. The Nimba by-election.
Yes, Dennis, it's going to be interesting tomorrow. Look, all of us here, I'm going to go on a link here to say we're all, junkies. We're watching, we're reading the tea leaves, we're playing around with the analytics and all of that. People are in this particular process for several different reasons. And for some, just by losing, they could also be winning. So there will be various kinds of victories that will be emerging out of this. But there is a scramble right now to plant markers in Nimba County as we go towards 2029. There's several different various permutations that could come out of this, and we'll see. But here on the ground, I'm happy since I got here. I really haven't seen any reasons for anyone to think that the atmosphere is going to be tense tomorrow. I haven't gone up in Nimba yet. I'm staying in Monrovia. And so, but from where I've visited the places I've gone, people seem to really, be waiting with anticipation. I think they want to get it over with, and so hopefully, everything will pass off peacefully tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see. The lots of interest in this race. We know the CDC has endorsed 3 different candidates, and there is a very good reason for that. On the face of it, it looks undecisive. It looks oxymoronic. But if you dig deeper, you understand why they would do this. If I were a sedition, I would probably, go on a link to say this is actually a smart strategy. If I'm not looking for an outright winner, but if I am looking to plant my seeds and harvest them in 2029, that's probably what I would do. And I will support you now, whether you win or not, and I will call in my chips come 2029. And maybe that is what the CDC is doing here, except that I'm a little bit confused when on the eve of this, they've come out heavily for one of the candidates as and left the other two, kind of hanging. I don't know, but
But
yeah,
what are you hearing, Victor in Monrovia? Do people care? I heard people say, "Oh, it's Nimba," but I tell them, "Hey, senatorial election, what laws they make going to be binding on all of us, so you should care." Do people really
no,
care?
I think there is really a lot of people are watching, paying attention. I mean, the talk shows here, they are all ablaze. The people are calling
And where
in.
is the momentum? Who you think will be winning tomorrow?
I'll be biased here to say I think the CMC has the momentum only because I'm not on the CMC train, and so yes, I would say they have the momentum. But then take it from me. Don't take it from me.
This is breaking news. You are on the CMC train.
Indeed, Dennis, I've indicated this on this very network that I thought I was, what I was seeing.
No, you said you were watching Bility.
What I've seen from the CMC has given me kind of, reason to kind of, be a part. I think the voice. But coming back to your question, if I say momentum is, seems to be building from the CMC, go to the front page Africa of today, and we all know Rodney Price himself on very objective reporting. But you should read his commentary to this assessment. He took on all the 9 districts and play each candidate out and discuss their positives and their potential negatives. And below, the CMC, is right there, smack in the middle. So I think the CMC is poised to pull an offset tomorrow. We'll see. Like I said, I haven't gone to Nimba. I haven't seen any internal polling. Basically, I'm just listening to the call-ins from the various, radio shows.
Thank you, Gabriel. Your prediction about tomorrow?
Did you call me?
Gabriel, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question? Sorry,
Your prediction about tomorrow? Who's going to win?
To be honest, I'm, when it comes to politics, I don't think I'm the sharpest knife in the cabinet here, but I will go off the limb to say that I am hoping, and I think Ms. Gonglo, the ANC candidate, probably has a little bit of momentum. But in addition to that, I think we have to be realistic as well, to be honest, to say that, there's equally so, Samuel Kogar does have a good bit of a win behind him. So I think those are the 2 candidates that I think will probably make it to the top 2 if there's a runoff, if there's anything else.
There's no runoff in the senatorial.
Yeah.
So you are one person you win.
I do want Ms. Gonglo to win, but I think it's going to be, a disappointment on our end, by if Kogar actually wins the election. But I think he has because he has a great bit of momentum on his side. And the reason for my support for Ms. Gonglo, I think everybody have said it. We need some kind of a balance in the government. We need some kind of a gender balance in the government. Now, I understand her background. She's been there probably twice already, ran twice already, so that doesn't look too good on her side. But I hope, she can muster the votes, the courage, the grassroots to actually pull this off. And I think it will be a good win for not just her, but the people of Nimba as well. Because I don't, compared to everybody else that's in the race right now, I don't think anybody offers, even herself to an extent, a better platform in terms of what they're going to do for the county. So, but in terms of compared to everybody in the race, I think hers is a little bit better than everybody else. So, I hope she pulls it off. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dugley.
Yeah, I think this by-election has actually shifted from the momentum has now shifted from what would have been a normal course of movements, where people expected Kogar to just replace Prince Johnson. But I think now what has happened is that with CMC in the game, and even Mrs. Edith Gonglo, where it's become a strategic game where people are really not planning, or they are not participating not only for the Senate, but they are also auditioning for 2029. Because if you look at the way the candidates have now presented themselves, I think I'm just speculating here based on what I've been reading. It's pretty clear that Koga is in the lead, and until something drastic really happens, I don't think that trajectory is about to change. And so, with that said, I think the CMC is making a significant dent in the electorate. And you see, Dennis, what most people haven't been paying attention to is that most of it has just proven one more time that he is a brilliant politician, simply because Bility tried to play to the sentiment of the people, meaning where the votes are, that's where he tried to go. But that, I mean, he sort of respond to the needs of the people on the ground. I heard somebody talk yesterday on one of these social networks how Bility, since he became representative, how he's built bridges, he's developed a lot of roads in the short period of time that he's been in the legislature. And so that's why I said this is also a long game for some people if they are auditioning for, not necessarily for this Senate by-election, but rather to prepare themselves for the next circle of general election that's going to be held. So what is troubling to me personally is that the ethnic sentiment that is being promoted by the vice president, and this is, yeah, we know Mrs. Edith Gonglo, she's in Manor, and to say that we've got Gil senators, Manu senators who must have another. I mean, I don't. I mean, I was just surprised to hear this coming from the vice president. I think the Nimba should have been over this long ago, but it doesn't seem that they learned some of the lessons that should have been learned after the brutal 14 years of civil war that degenerated into a tribal and political war. So, like I said, I think it's pretty clear Koga is in the lead. Like I said, again, until something drastic really happens, I don't see that changing. But that's probably the lesser of all what is happening now.
Dennis, you're muted.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, there's this sentiment that ethnic politics, in fact, the superintendent of the county said, hey, tribal and ethnic balance trumps gender balance. So I'm not sure if you are, what that really is supposed to mean. But it appears that people already started thinking that because of all the people in the race, I think they are more down or Gil people than I think either should be the only man person or minor person. So it's like some unwritten code that, hey, this election, this seat is for Gil, so only the Gil people should go, or Gil people think, okay, this is our seat. So it could be a coincidence or it could be something else. But this tribal thing that we have this one, and we are not talking competence. We are not talking what they bring to the table. They're not talking accomplishment. What they're going to do is just mainly ethnic group. Yemen. Is this unique to Nimba though?
More so in Nimba. It is, first of all, anyone that, we are talking about the creation of artificial barriers. That argument holds no ground anywhere, not even in Nimba. Because a few years ago, a friend of mine, Thomas Groupie, who is Gil, was senator serving along with Prince Johnson, who is also Gil. And they serve together. Nobody from the Gil side or anywhere else came to say, it is not right for two guilds to serve in the Senate. All of a sudden now, we are seeing these artificial creation of it is a silent code, it is a tradition. Our elder said this, our chief said it. So this is artificial, right? Now you touched on something. Nobody is talking about competence. The unemployment is 95% in the country, according to some folks, between 90 and 95. Some people say 92%. Nobody is talking about the economy. Nobody is talking about healthcare. Nobody is talking about infrastructure. The only candidate that talking about infrastructure development and the economy is Mark Blewin. He said, look what the CNC have done within a very short period of time. With our political leader, Mr. Hassan Bility, look what we have done in our district, in his district. We even went in Kogar's district and built a bridge there, and we are building bridges and everything else around the country. We intend to do that across. So look at what CNC have done. Based on this, we can visibly say we can replicate this in other districts in the county and hopefully nationwide. Besides, even Edith, that's supposed to be the well-learned, well-experienced, educated person. I have not seen any manifesto that says, this is what I'm going to do for youth unemployment. This is what I'm going to do for women's health care. This is what I'm going to do for children. This is what I'm going to do for the overall society.
I think she said those things in the speeches that I watched.
Yes,
go ahead.
I'm talking about the manifesto, something that you can look at and say, this is what I can hold you to, like like everybody does. Nothing in print. We say these things. So this is what I'm saying. If anybody wanted to say that our politics should be driven by tribe or ethnicity, Nimba County has a lot of Bassa people, people from Grand Jita, a lot of people from the Mandingo ethnic group. I mean, it's a conglomeration of great folks. To have it limited to just two, okay? Repeatedly to say Gio and Mana, you are discounting the Mandingos, the Bassos, the Grangidians.
No, not Grangidian, the Crown. They are Crown from public district.
Okay, well.
They are not Grangidians.
Okay, the Crowns, the Mandingos, the Bassos, you name it, from all over the place. It's a disservice, but it is what trending, it is what have worked for them, and they would like to continue that. And I think it's a terrible move for our folks, because if you go to Grand Bassa County and you want to say, well, if you are Bassa from Riverside, then you don't count, or you are Bassa from Mangibi, you don't count, because these places were all either territory for somebody. Yes. So we are all Bassa people. You can't say that. So Manos and Gils and everybody, they are Nibayans. I don't think anybody should be elected because the Gil or the Mana.
Thank you. And Victor, I want you to conclude on this topic. This whole idea of what does it mean to say, okay, we have this person representing Gil. So if you are Gil, what interest of Gil people will you represent in the Senate? Unlike, let's say, if you're a woman or if you're a youth, and you say, well, I want to represent the interest of the youth, and you have the youth all over the country. I want to represent the interest of women. The women are all over the country. I want to represent the interest of maybe blue-collar workers or stuff like that, right? When they say we should have a representation on the basis of ethnic group, what interest of the ethnic group are they trying to foster?
Dennis, this is really unfortunate that this is what these by-elections have, by-election has come to. I absolutely agree with Jerome. If we're going to talk about, tribal balance, then we might as well don't have elections, let's rotate it. You give it to a Mano person, and then a Gil person, and then a Mandingo person, and then we Bassa person,
But they don't refer to that as tribal balance. If you have Crown and we being there, it's not tribal
balance.
But
that is the folly of the argument I'm trying to make. Then I agree with you. They don't see that as being a gender balance. I mean, a tribal balance. But that would be tribal. That would be the actual tribal balance in its true sense. Give every tribe in Nimba an opportunity to serve. If
Oh, he's calling from Monrovia, so you should understand.
Yeah. Anyway, but quick announcement. There was a public release a few hours ago that there will be no internet service starting tomorrow all the way to the 28th of the month. So the internet will be shut down tomorrow to the 28th of the month. It was just released about an hour ago.
Internet will be shut down where? In Liberia?
In Liberia, yeah.
Yeah.
LTA just made an announcement that the internet service will be shut down tomorrow through the 28th.
Who made that call?
The Liberian government.
Did they give any reason why?
They said maintenance. They said regular cable maintenance.
All right.
What? So convenience.
Well, that's part of what people are saying. When the critical decision from the Supreme Court and the election is about to be had, the most time you think you will do all you can to secure internet service, is shutting down the internet. So the results of the election, the results of what's going on, will be minimally exposed to the international, unless you got a Starlink, they say.
Thank you. That take us, we're still in Nimba. There are reports that people are using other people's money to run the campaign, right? A report in the paper say there's a misuse of the Nimba County Social Development Fund, where senior government officials allegedly are distributing cash and material incentives to influence political allegiance. They named some officials as the Internal Affairs Minister Francis Yumalin, Representative Yan Flomo, the Superintendent of the county called Mape Gono. They say these people are the one dividing the money. They are giving US $500 each to 786 town chiefs, 20 district commissioners, totaling 393,000. And then 17 motorcycles are also distributed. Allegedly, they are pressuring or instructing to mobilize citizens for Representative Samuel Kogar's candidacy. So they are pressuring the local leader to say, vote for the Representative Samuel Kogar. And they are promising political appointments, international travel for people that are supporting Kogar. If you remember, the Superintendent Gono said, he will support any female candidate until the current administration completes it. She would not support any female candidate, and because tribal balance, that's better compared to gender balance. The Internal Affairs Minister, according to the paper, said voting against Kogar will be seen as disloyalty to the government. So that's the Nimba Development Fund. I also want to tell you that Kogar himself on the campaign trail, we've seen him dividing money. And let me play a video for you. That's Kogar. Let's watch another one. All right, and so on, right? So money is changing hands.
Vice President, you didn't see the Vice President himself dishing out money too?
No, please share the video.
Okay.
Right. So Gabriel, is there any rule? You look through the campaign finance. Is there any rule against this?
To be honest, I don't think we have any. For those of you who are political junkies and in the audience here, you can keep me honest. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't any campaign finance rule in our on the books, any law on the books governing that. And
No. Mhm.
right, and this is not the first time we've heard or we've seen people giving out money during campaign, and this is what I always say on this platform, and I was continuing to say, your democracy is an evolving, living institution. Whatever rules and guidelines and guardrails you put in place to protect it, there will always be one group, one individual, or a collective of people that will bend those rules. But what does that mean for you? That means you can go back to amend those rules, amend those constitution, or whatever it is, to protect it, because it's an evolution. We've said this here before, right? In this case, you've seen this is not the first time. We could have come up with some laws to get
Mhm.
money out of our politics, right? To get money out of our politics. This is not the first time. And the continuation of this, what it's going to do is going to isolate a certain group of people, meaning that you, Dennis, if you want to run, we know you're very qualified to be a superintendent. But if you don't have money to run in Sano or whatever you want to run, guess what? The next person with more money, even though he doesn't qualify, he doesn't have the platform to elevate that county, will pay people out and he will get elected. And at the end of the day, everyone in our county suffers and the democracy suffers. So this is why I always said here, we have to investigate these things. This is why journalism matters, right? Stuff like this, it would take a good investigative journalist to go investigate that. You investigate that, you elevate that to the right authority to see who is involved, who's taking money from the county coffers. The next thing I want to say here is this.
And Gabriel, before you continue, this 2016 campaign finance regulations, but mainly is mainly on the candidate receiving gifts, receiving money, and reporting. It
It's
really, I don't know, it really
it,
didn't address the candidate.
it's not good. It's not good enough. This is not
Yeah.
good enough. It's not good enough. And this is why I keep saying, well, I don't want to say young democracy, but post-war, where this experiment that we're on, we're supposed to be perfecting a democracy that people can look at and say, okay, this country came out of war. They are doing so great with democracy that we can look at what they're doing. But it seems as if we've never evolved at all. We've never seen any other country perfecting democracy and learning from their mistakes and learning from their wins. And we be able to adapt some of those wins and learning from those mistakes. What the question that I wanted to ask here is, who oversees the Nimba Development Fund, right? Who's entitled to that? Right? If that is the county development fund, why is it that sitting elected officials are going in the fund and tapping into it to give out money? Shouldn't there be an investigation? If that be the case, shouldn't that investigation get escalated to the Supreme Court or wherever it needs to get to, or the Senate, the House of Representatives get involved with this? This is not hidden anymore. This is right before you and everyone else was seeing this on social media platform. I will say this quickly and I will end. And I will go back to the exact same thing that I said. We've 180, almost 180 years old, but we're running a country as if we are just 60 years old, or just like these other countries that just got their independence, when we should have the prerequisite, the tools to be able to govern properly. What we're seeing here is doesn't show that this country is evolving. It doesn't show that we're even building a democracy. This is where people that just can't come out of the cave, the cave age do as a people. This is not how you build a democracy. And I will continue to say this. We continue to run this country like this, we will end up in the unfortunate things that we don't want to get to, unintended consequences. You're marginalizing people. I yield on that.
Thank you. And prior to this, if you remember when the late Senator Prince Johnson and now VP Jeremiah Koung were senators, it was like they were kind of controlling the county development funds. Prince Johnson was fighting for it, that hey, the We Are government is not giving it to us. But from what I see, the legislative caucus, they kind of administer it. Mr. Gaiman, we see money changing hands. We see they're talking about the development, and these are all allegations. Do you think these things will be investigated?
No. I said no because I got empirical evidence that we all are privy to. We have seen many things. When we saw the gentleman from LTA, the $3,600 a month gas and maintenance for generator and all that, President Boakai set up a committee to investigate that and investigate all autonomous agencies across their salary structure, and he needed that to come back, and he was going to make a decision. We saw what happened at the immigration. There was an investigation that happened there when Mr. Kamara was there. AB was there. Whatever happened to that, nobody knows. We saw another one with the central bank, and it goes on and on and on. And almost all the major positions, everybody there are acting. They are all acting because when you illegally remove someone, you cannot appoint somebody, so everybody is acting. So will this be investigated? No. But what is perplexing there's something called integrity agencies, right? That's supposed to guide our processes. You are seeing somebody standing there. The vice president went and said, where are the women? Here, 10,000. Where are our elders? Here, 5, something of that nature. And then you see the senator, I guess, in waiting, or the representative Kogar, is giving out money everywhere he goes. And nobody says anything. I made a call to one of the agencies. They said there's a process. Somebody had to file a complaint. Can you imagine? If a crime is being committed against the state, you are saying someone should file a complaint. So this is where we are. This is never going to be investigated. Liberian we are in this. Somebody, I think Mr. Carter said we are 188 years old. No. As far as the history is concerned, this democracy or this group landed on that soil 1822. That makes us 203 years this year. If you want to take it from independence and say between 1822 to 1847, nothing happens, okay, But I know people were there. There were autonomous agencies. There were the governorship going on. So there were government there. Our incompetence and our failure should not say, well, 1847. No, we are not doing well, and we are retrogressing. It is just bad on our side that in the middle of this, when you go to other countries, I don't have to tell you, Mr. Jai, all of us that travel to other countries, you hear the joke about us, who we are. We dress well, we speak fluently, and we look sophisticated and suave. But when you go home, it's a whole different story. And it's disheartening, but this is what we got.
Thank you. Mr. Dukley, you are in Canada. I don't know if you ever seen any candidate dividing money, or you got some?
Actually, just so you know, it's illegal. Even by Liberian standard, it is illegal. And almost all the questions that you just asked, a good number of those questions are addressed in the
campaign finance regulation,
in the National Election Commission's election guidelines. And as a matter of fact, it is clearly stated in I think section 20 or so in that very guideline that says it is prohibited to give somebody money for them to vote for you. So all of these questions, the answers of those questions are all in that guideline. But unfortunately, these guidelines are not being enforced, not even by the Election Commission themselves. Exactly. And so people have come to accept the fact that you can do it. Even for the Senate expenses, it shouldn't. I think it's $600,000. That's the max. That's the max that can be expended. And so I think it's $2 million for presidential. So in the guidelines, it's laid out clearly. These things must be documented, they must be recorded, and there are procedures as to how all of these contributions can be recorded and how they can be expended. But again, we have come to accept or normalize what we do now outside the law as the norm. And so everybody has accepted. But there are guidelines as to how much you can spend, how much you can donate. As a matter of fact, they set it at $500. That's the max.
5,000.
Sorry, 5,000. And so, and again, the source of every donation needs to be registered, whether it's from an individual, whether it's from a corporation, whether it's from a foreigner, etc. As a matter of fact, it is prohibited by that very guideline for anyone to contribute who is not a resident of Liberia or who is not from that particular region. I mean, there's something to that effect. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make here is that there are guidelines by the National Election Commission, but it's not being followed, and the National Election Commission itself doesn't even attempt to make sure that these rules are followed. And so everybody have come to accept that whatever they are doing, that's how it should be done. You know,
Mr. Dukley, real quick.
Yes.
I'm not seeing anything where it says the candidate cannot give money
Get
to.
money.
I didn't see that.
Pardon me?
Is it there, John?
Yeah, you
didn't see
cannot
it.
give somebody
There
money for
isn't,
them to
there
vote
isn't.
for you. It's there.
No, I didn't see it. So this is why we say it's so vaguely written that there's so many loopholes that the people can exploit it. Because I read this when Dennis sent it out. I read it back and forth, and we can complain all we want until the lawyers from like the so-called integrity institute come out here and say, since they have not said anything, it seems to be as though it is acceptable. This format is acceptable. You just have a bunch of money and you go out and give it to folks, and the folks got no fear. I mean, in broad daylight, he's doing it and not doing it once, but over and over and over and over.
Mr. Number, why are people so, it's like, I have a friend who, somebody went to talk about somebody to the other person and say, but why is the person so brave to come to you and talk about me, right? Why are these candidates so brave that they can get outside and say divide money, right? And do these things and other political parties are sitting there. It's like, okay, so the only way we can do this. So most of the time people say, well, I want to run, but I don't have money. In fact, we want to, in the last presidential election, I heard people say, oh, Gavin Bongo is a bright person, but he ain't got money. In other words, he can't bribe us. You got to bribe me before I vote for you.
That's right. That's right.
Has this become
well, I was out for a while. I think we lost power again for the second time.
We're in Miami. You don't have to apologize.
So no, I was going to say I don't know how much I missed, but so I hope I will not be repeating what has already been said. But I think you're speaking to the vulnerability of our people. Our people are gullible. Most of them not by choice. It's because of the conditions they find themselves in.
But we are victims. I want to say, because we are not protecting them from that vulnerability. We are not putting laws into place to stop people from bribing them to vote for them.
I agree with you. There are laws in the books. There are laws in the books. I think what we're witnessing is the violation of the election law. But it's like we saw government civil servants going into Nimba to campaign, and the ombudsman has said nothing about it. There are laws on the book. We're just not enforcing the laws. They're not supposed to be doing that. But we're not. I think the CMC did issue a statement calling the attention of the responsible authorities of civil servants going into Nimba to campaign. That's against the law. Throwing money out into people during campaign, that is also against the law. And our people, they're desperate, they need money, and so they take the money. Obviously, that is what is happening. But I don't think it's due to a fault of their own. I think we are the ones who are to be held responsible for enabling a system that obviously, is corrupt. And so the responsibility, I believe, is on us. And to see that this is what this has come to end. But I mean, what are we going to say? What are we going to do about it? Even as we're talking about it now, I don't know. Is there going to be a citizens legal action against such a thing? I doubt it. But yeah, that is against the law. It shouldn't be happening, but it is
But
happening.
doesn't that perpetuate the cycle? If we are witnessing what is happening right now under this administration, and nobody is doing anything about it, not the House of Representative, not the Senate, not any citizen group, or any what do you call them, the accountability institution, the next president who's going to come in will repeat the same cycle, will do the same thing, because nobody held this administration accountable. He will feel as though it is okay to do what the previous administration did, and the next president, and it continues, and nobody is doing anything about it. So it continues this thing in perpetuity, where we think we're building a democracy, but in actuality, this is a pseudo democracy. It's not improving.
Gabriel, let me read this to you from Article 16. The publication of financial reports by NEC. The NEC shall make the assets and liability form of each candidate available for viewing by the public at the NEC headquarters during normal working hours. The NEC shall make public the itemization of contribution and expenses furnished by each candidate and political party pursuant to preceding paragraph 30 days after the announcement of results. The NEC shall publish on its webpage a financial summary of each campaign finance report. The NEC may establish an audit committee which within 60 days of the election may complete a certified audit of the book of accounts of any political party or candidate. The NEC shall have the power to retain an independent auditing agency to conduct certified audits of the financial transaction of a candidate or political party, and on and on and on. Do you have any recollection of the NEC doing that, or we don't know?
I think it goes back to where the onus is on the NEC. I didn't even think that they had the authority to carry out some of these things, but it's, as you rightly stated, it's clearly written, and they should have the ability to investigate. But again, it goes back to what we've all been saying here. If you have appointed the head of the NEC, they're beholden to you. Why would they come to investigate you, right? So it's again, I continue to say that it seems as if we have a democracy that from the outside you would think we have a president, we have all these appointed institution and accountability institution and the House of Representatives and Senate, but we have those people just sitting there. Not even one person have the audacity, the gall to muster any strength to say, okay, this is illegal. This is what I was put here to do. Let me kind of file some kind of complaint and follow through this thing and make sure that the next person that come through, even if I don't get to the end, will see that people are holding other people accountable. Yeah. Who's supposed to hold the NEC accountable? I guess this is my question to all of you.
Well,
if the NEC isn't doing what it's supposed to do, who's supposed to hold them accountable?
Well, this is the problem. This is part of the problem, Brother Gabriel. Mm-hmm. This NEC is supposed to be an independent institution, meaning their loyalty lies with no party, nobody. They need to make sure that the election is freely run, free and fair, and all the rules governing that election is upheld. As a matter of fact, it is required by the rules here that they must report the outcome of their audit post-election, so that people can know what went wrong, what was. But again, we have come to normalize the way things are done now as the way of doing things. So nobody cares. And like you said, why should NEC be beholden to any particular party? No, it's supposed to be an independent agency on its own. But again, none of these institutions are working independently, where they can hold even the governing party if there's an infraction on their part. But again, none of that. Like Dennis just read exactly. That's the rule that governs this election. But do you see any of these implemented? No.
But
and before you come in, Jerome, it also says that you can use public resources.
That's right.
But
so you can't use government vehicles. You can't use government assets to. But again,
this is what I kept saying when I go to Liberia. When you go to these agencies and see their operation manual, and you look at it and you read it, but you can tell that they were written by consultants who cut and pasted it from the United States laws and they just put it there and look glossy. And it's sitting on their table. When the international community comes in, they say, we have everything you say, we have it written here. They never talk about implementation. When you go in, you say, do you do this? And they look at this NDC thing. They think it's so well written, right? But the implementation, how many times have they ever been implemented? Zero. And let's be honest here now. We are not bashing this government. I'm talking about even during the CDC time, right? How many times did they implement this? The Ellen time, how many times did they implement anything here? And now Joseph Boakai is a continuation of the executive not implementing anything, especially when you are in charge. We want to believe that the NEC is supposed to be independent, but they get their funding through the government, so they're not independent. The president fired the NEC chairperson. Whatever happened behind the scene, he came right back and said, disregard everything, and said she's back on her job. So all of those citizens that were protesting for corruption, for everything else, that put their necks on the line, the lady was fired. They were dancing all over the place. A week later, 2 weeks later, the lady is back on her job with full power. And all these people are now vulnerable. So it's the executive. They don't implement these things, these beautifully written things. It means absolutely nothing, just paper.
Mr. Nimba, let's look at the role of the vice president in this campaign. I mean, before they started, Musa Bility cautioned, say, hey, don't come. You are everybody's father. And I was here, I said, no, Musa, you can say that. But the vice president is deep in this thing than all of us thought. Here is the vice president at the grave of Prince Johnson. Take a look.
And we said, I know you received Senator Johnson. Yeah, hello there. Nimba is safe. Nimba is together. And we will fight to protect the Nimba you like and keep it together. Yes. And that's why I'm not in Monrovia today. I'm in all towns and villages of Nimba. Because of the tradition you left. That no one tribe among the 5 tribes in Nimba should keep the 2 senatorial seats. That value will be kept. And so as you are receiving the Johnson, you might be launching at your house there. We wish you well there.
Victor, the role of Prince Johnson and then the VP in the by-election.
Right. So I agree with you when you said earlier that you didn't think the VP should, immerse himself into this thing. I agree. I think he should have stayed above
Musa
it.
said that I didn't agree with Musa, but now it's becoming clearer that he's deeper than I thought.
Right. So, okay. So you are channeling Musa. But look, the VP's involvement, if anything, he could have done it in a way that could have enhanced the process. But I think his involvement has been nothing but, he's talking over there. He's using code words. We will fight to protect the tradition. What does that mean? What does that mean? Prince Johnson was alive when Groupie and another person, and him, I think, a Groupie, 2 Gio people were senators of Nimba County. What is the tradition that Prince Johnson left behind? That he's threatening those who were there for foot, to threaten the tradition that the venerable senator left behind. The venerable senator. What is the tradition? He's just over there making things up and communicating codes, intimidating other candidates who may be seen as trying to disturb or to go against the so-called tradition. They know tradition. He's just making things up. There are 4 guild people in the race. Let him go and tell them to step aside and give it to one person. Why is it only the minor person who should step out of the race? If he wants to talk about balance, Yellow is Gil. I heard this guy Tobo Fangalo yesterday, and he just kind of opened my eyes. There are 4 Gil people in the race. Where is this balance that he's talking about? Where is the tradition? So I think he's going in there really. I think as being a hindrance to the process. We have a flourishing and robust and vibrant democracy that's happening in this country. And Nimba right now is on the verge of threatening this peaceful transfer of power that we have existing in this country. I don't think he should have gone there. If he did, I don't think he should have gone there in the way that he's done. You're in Manipo, your leader thing here, your leader thing, what does that mean? It's a democracy, Put your candidate out there on the record. Forget all this, this susu thing, you EIE and all that stuff there, Prince Johnson is better than that, uphold that all the time, and he knows that. If he say he was that close to Prince Johnson, he'll remember, he will know that. So his involvement is a real disappointment. He's stoking tribal fear, tension, and division. That's what he's doing.
And he and Prince Johnson, they were the two senators, right? Yeah. He's Gil, Prince Johnson is Gil. So, Mr. Dukley, someone is supervising the vice president, and the vice president he said he's spending the whole time in Nimba. That means he's not reporting to work. Does President Boakai care about this, or does he have his interest being represented by the vice president as well? That's why he's quiet, or he shouldn't be talking about it.
I can see. This is not It's not in.
He's a supervisor. The VP is not coming to work.
Yeah, there's nothing ambiguous about that. And again, we were just speaking about we not following our own rules or our own laws, and so this is not any different. As a matter of fact, as you and Victor alluded to the VP's involvement earlier, again, he shouldn't have been involved in the manner in which he is. But again, because this is how we have come to do our politicking, and this is how we have come to normalize all the mediocre that we have instituted in our system. I mean, he is not the one running. There is someone running for the position. I don't think even legally speaking, all the time he has devoted to this campaign, he shouldn't have been devoting that much time to it as he has. But again, remember, whatever he does is all sanctioned by Joseph Boakai. This is not happening in vacuum. This is not happening without his knowledge. So he is on board with whatever the VP is doing, and it's very, very, very unfortunate that they've allowed this whole tribal sentiment to overshadow everything else. I mean, what's wrong with two guilds representing Nimba? What's wrong with two Mana representing is the democracy? People will be elected on the merit. People are not going to be elected because. So again, the vice president has only amplified the division. He has only amplified the tribalistic nature of Nimba County. Yeah, you know what? They have now alienated all the other minority groups that are citizens of Nimba County, besides the Q and the Mano, at the expense of the rest of the other minorities. So his being absent from his job as vice president is fully sanctioned by the president, by Joseph Boakai. He wouldn't have done it had it not been sanctioned by him. So again, this is business as usual as far as we can tell the way the Liberian government has been functioning. We've just laid out right now, earlier, how all these things are on the books, but they're not being followed. So the work of the vice president is not any different from that. Even if he shouldn't have been there, he's there. Did you hear anybody complaining? And it's very sickening, to see how things have happened in a short period of time when this campaign happened. Bringing on board Prophet Key, some content creators somewhere, and all the things that he said about the campaign, and then suddenly you have Yeke Kolba is the campaign for Miss Gonglo. So and all of this is illegal. You can't do that. If you're not from there, you shouldn't be there. It's clearly laid out. But again, nobody is paying attention to any of these, Dennis. And this is how we come to normalize these things until such time somebody who is on the losing end of things raise it up, then it becomes an issue. Otherwise, nobody cares to see that what are these rules are being followed. So, I mean, don't be surprised. The vice president can do even more than this. Nobody's going to say anything as long as it's sanctioned by his boss.
So Dennis, I think this is a long play for
Gabriel,
20.
before coming, because I want you to also mention this. Like the government now, I saw Mo Ali posting like kind of in favor of Kogar. We saw the superintendent saying, "Hey, Kogar," and then I saw Mr. Douglas saying the president is acquiesced. What does the government get by the election of Kogar? What does Kogar bring to the Senate that the government or the executive branch is behind him?
Dennis, this is a long game for 2029. And as I said earlier, I'm not the sharpest knife in the cabinet when it comes to politics, but from what I can gather, this is a long play for 2029. And if you know how politically strategic Nimba is, it is important to have a senator who is Unity Party there comes 2029.
But he's representative already.
Right, but it elevates that standard. I mean, you and I both know. Everybody here knows. As a representative, what have you heard about Sam Kogar? Nothing. No bill. Nothing. It was just I became aware of him when the late senator passed away. When I saw him jumping over the body, but other than that, nothing. Right. All of a sudden, his political stock have risen. Right. Because the vice president and all these other people who are in politics in the Unity Party are now, coalescing around him, right? But the point here is that this is a long game for 2029. Nothing short of that. And if you know Nimba, what Nimba is, political capital in terms of votes, that is why you see everybody supporting him, including the president. So the vice president being there, Mo Ali and all these other Unity Party folks, this is a strategic move by the president. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. That brings us to our other issue, is this issue of mob justice. Mob justice, you see, before the election, you saw what happened in Foya. Those of you in Monrovia, you know that even when your car hits somebody, the next thing they're coming for your head. Right? And President Boakai was talking about mob justice. He's calling on people to say, let's do something about this. Let me welcome the man from the nation's capital, Jimmy Eastbourne, who's just joining us. Jimmy, welcome.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm sorry for the tardiness, but I really honored to be here with you, fine gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So here the thing President Boakai said in the paper, he urged Liberians to abandon mob justice and raise public awareness against it. He stressed the need for the recommitment to the rule of law instead of taking justice into citizens' own hands. He warned that lawlessness threatens Liberia's integrity, scares away potential security. He highlighted the importance of living harmoniously and avoiding violence, which causes harm to others. He stated the acts of mob violence discourage investors and lead to economic stagnation. He advocated for discipline and choosing law over vengeance in guiding communities. He challenged Liberians to trust police to discharge their duties while emphasizing respect for citizens' rights. He acknowledged challenges within the system but condemned the use of violence as a solution, emphasizing reform and accountability. Jimmy, I want you to take this first. President Boakai, and we know all the things that have happened, how the police have been, I don't want to say being used, but the police are not being fair in the dispensing of enforcing the law. I mean, one example is at the end of the burning of the Capitol, only people on the side of the minority are in jail, right? I was even looking at some, just in the election time, right? People were being killed in the streets in Foya, mob justice. And we thought when the government came to power, they were going to do something about it. So far, nothing being heard, right? So President Boakai talking about mob justice, and I saw a few The attack on Dede Simmons, a Canadian-based Liberian woman, was severely flogged, stripped naked, and sexually assaulted by a mob in the Pinsville area. Recent surges in mob-related incidents resulted in tragic loss of lives and destruction of property. The mob will come and burn vehicles, the storming of police stations, and on and on and on. And we don't see the government under President Boakai doing much about it. So President Boakai should President Boakai be the one to lecture us now?
Thank you for the question. All those points that you mentioned that he stipulated are tenets of a well-run democracy where peace prevails, civil action prevails, and people are responsible for their actions. But you can say anything, but implementing is where the rubber meets the road. We have to examine what has been done so that message is permeated into the hearts and minds of the population. It's not just saying it one time and it's going to. You have to find a way to get people to absorb the message and act properly. So I don't see enough being done. They have people who specialize in subliminal messaging, where you have signs, you have different ways of having that message delivered to the youth and to those that will be responsible for their action. And until you do that, you can just simply say anything, but it will not take effect until you know how to get your message across and have the people espouse that message. For the things that are happening, that are unruly, that don't appear fair, that is an opportunity for the administration to show how things should be conducted, to show their balance and their fairness, by maintaining, by quickly exerting punishment or action where needed when mob justice takes place, by seeing people get arrested. People are feeling that this government is taking quick action against wrongdoing. That will send a strong message as to what kind of administration we see on the part of the current rulers. So these things, they go together. And until, not just lip service, as they call it, and until you start having someone who will execute these things and will make sure that people follow these rules with all the different ways of getting the message across. I was just recently, as you all know, in Monrovia. I stayed there for a good amount of time. So I had an opportunity to observe a lot. There are one or two people that are doing very well, but the Ministry of Information, okay, and the voice of the president, which is these what's the lady's name? Press president, the press
secretary.
Yes, they are the ones to launch the president's message. They are the ones to make sure that the key news organizations or various bodies absorb that message, and they have to propagate that message. It's not enough just to go one time and say something. It has to be repeated. These are where the radio programs, people appear on radio shows, people appear on social media, getting the president message across. So
thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot can be done.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, why are we seeing mob justice all over the place? What's happening?
Somebody's dog barking there. You got to be the CEO. Well, mob justice is the absence of law and the absence of the protection of the folks. For instance, If people go to the court to find solutions and they can't find solutions, for instance, if you call the police and the police can't come until some say you got to buy gas for the police or you are in trouble and you are the victim of a crime and you call the police and the police is telling you we don't have gas in our car, you got to pay for gas before we come, or you got to do XYZ. Some people will say, well, if it's going to take you 2 hours to get here, or I got to go credit money to buy gas for you to get here, do you think the criminal is going to be waiting for you to get here? So in that case, where there is no law and order, where there is no swift justice, vigilantism and mob justice is what you get. So, like, let's say the motorcyclist, for example. The gentleman was saying, came from work. He worked for the Ministry of Education. He has all his papers. He's going home from work, and the police pulled him over, and they asked him for an operation fee. And he told me, he said, but which one is this? I have my registration, I got my insurance, I got everything, I got my health, I got everything the government requires of me. And they took him off the bike, took his bike. When they went to the IG and they went to the people up, they say, operation cost is something that everybody has to pay, but it's not in the law. So these people are now upset. You can't make the law on the fly. You can't change like they say, change the rule when the game is in play. You told me these are the things that are needed to obtain a bike, to operate a bike in this country. I met all my needs. You gave me the permit, and I'm driving now. You're taking my bike. These are the things we are talking about. The absence of justice is not just in the form of going to court. It's the people down there who cannot find redress for what is happening to them. And it manifests itself in these kinds of things. When the police is going to take 3 hours to come, I might well protect myself and my family. And that's why you see it. It is unfortunate, but that's what it is.
Yeah, but let me ask you something, Mr. Gaiman. We see them quickly acting when they're about to demonstrate. I saw IG getting police dispersed quickly when they want to protest, when they do want to do certain things. I saw how he made sure that every checkpoint is monitored, that motorcyclists cannot get on the main road. So when they're ready, we see quick action. Why? Is it, you think, logistics that's making them not take sufficient action all the time?
No, it is the actual dislike for the previous ruling party. Because when you hear about demonstration, what they usually say is it is sedition or members of the sedition or family or people of that nature. You saw what happened at the CDC headquarters. The zeal and the urgencies of cracking down on the CDC made them to go and get even fake warrant. This is the government. This is the police. You cannot invade. You cannot arrest if you don't have a warrant to go into somebody's home. They know this. So what did they do? They didn't go to the court to get a judge to sign it, but they have somebody who was working in the court's office to sign it later on after damage was done. They came and then apologized. That's how it works.
Thank you. Gabriel, President Boakai urged Liberians to abandon mob justice and raise public awareness against it. Urging is not enough. What should President Boakai do?
You see, I think somebody alluded to this earlier. Sometimes when somebody's delivering a message, you have to look at the person who's delivering the message. This is the president who circumvented the public procurement law to sign gentleman agreement for Yellow Machine, right? This is the same president who sidestepped the Supreme Court decision on the speakership debacle that is, I think, is still ongoing right now. Should I continue? This is the same president who the NASCOR fund mismanagement, he has not taken any decision, right? So this is now the president who is telling you he's going to act on mob justice. Meaning there are laws that you yourself are not even following, but you're now telling people that you're going to enforce laws, right? So it's unfortunate that people have to defend themselves, protect themselves when it is sole responsibility. I think probably the biggest responsibility of a president is the safety of your citizen, the safety and protection of your citizen, first and foremost. But because they don't have that, they have resorted to protecting themselves. And that has continued, not just under this president, even the previous, and even under Ellen as well, right? But you cannot be somebody who's circumventing laws and then you come in public and talk about enforcing laws. So that's
Gabriel, he stressed the need for recommitment to the rule of law.
Yeah, but you can stress the need for recommitment. You have to hold yourself accountable to, right? Before you tell people what to do, you have to, am I doing the right thing? We've heard a lot from this president. I'm not the only one here who's saying that. We've heard a lot from this president. We expected a lot from him. I can excuse, even though it's not excusable, I can excuse Weah. He's a novice that we put in power. So I can excuse his shortcomings and all of this. But this is somebody who's been in government, according to folks, for 40 years. You're supposed to be the gold standard, even probably better than Ellen. You're supposed to be the gold standard of what democracy or somebody, a leadership is supposed to be. But you have become the worst so far. And you're here talking about you're going to recommit. Listen, I like people reevaluating themselves and, coming to a conclusion and say, okay, I made mistakes. I'm going to do the right things. So I commend him on that. But if you look at his history of what he has done so far in terms of sidestepping laws and circumventing procurement laws that were on the books, you don't. If you were me, you wouldn't take his words you wouldn't take him seriously. So
Thank you.
I hope he does that. I hope he recommit that and set up some kind of task force, make sure people follow, because that's is causing a lot of innocent lives. Right. So I'll leave it on that.
Mr. Dukley, somewhere Mr. Boakai met other, I think he said, hey, don't just do this, but don't just look at, and I'm kind of trying to remember the quote, but what he was basically saying is, don't just do things for peace, help us to study the root cause so that you can address it. So I said, but this is the president talking, right? The box stop with the president, but this statement is like somebody is expecting somebody else to do it.
Yeah, and again, Brother Gabriel just alluded to some of the feelings of Mr. Boakai. I have a different take, Dennis. Look, this thing, when I was growing up, I grew up in Monrovia, and I'm not in any way suggesting here that there wasn't mob justice, but what we see today, there was anything closer to what is happening today. So, to me, I think that has to do with we need to do something about our educational system. Look, these things, proclamations, laws, it's not going to cut it, as far as I'm concerned. This thing has to start from the ground up. You see legislatures throwing punches, adults fighting in the street. It's common. People have come to see this as the way of doing things. When you have any issue with somebody, if you are able to punch them out, you can punch them out. But I think we need to go back from kindergarten or nursery, if possible, where these things would be part of our curriculum. These nonviolent things, Again, like I said, these are some of the things that we need to include in our curriculum. That is the reflection of our new reality that we've had after the Civil War. So you have to mold the young minds to grow up to, to denounce violence, to to desist from violence. So in terms of law and order, this is we see it happen at the highest level in the Liberian government. And you all saw the instance where this poor guy was doing his job in traffic police when he pulled over this lawmaker because he was driving the opposite direction of a vehicle with no marking, with no place whatsoever. He was pulled over, and the next thing we saw, he was called into the AG's office. And look, people see these things, people hear these things, and so the laws are not deterrent. So nobody's afraid of any consequence. You can beat up somebody. You could, I mean, you can kill somebody in Yucatan, and you end up in Sinko. Nobody will see you. Nobody will know about you, and that's it. So they are very selective when it comes to these things. Law enforcement. They are very, very selective. I can tell you, this thing has to start from the nursery, where you're going to mold the young minds about all these things to change the orientation. Other than that, we can say all we want. It's not going to change. And like you said rightly, the president who's supposed to be the one to lead on this, he was speaking as if to say he is trying to solicit here what to do about the lawlessness and the people not following the laws. Then as most of these things are on the books where there is a consequence for these things. But again, even if there should be, but there hasn't been. And so, even nobody is afraid. Nobody is, they know, he or she knows that if you commit a crime, he punched somebody in the face, if he has the money, he goes to the police. And again, for this one, I would say this, the police are under-resourced. They are very, very much under-resourced. They don't have much. There's no cruiser. They have terrible communication equipment if they ever have. So, I mean, in order for you to have effective law enforcement, they have to be adequately trained. They have to be well-resourced. And none of these things are available to the Liberian National Police, nor any other law enforcement for that matter. The executive protection, what is it? The executive protection, whatever they call it.
Right.
Yeah, they are the only one that have at least some level of training because it involved the presidency. And so they pay a little bit of attention to them. Besides them, no, the other guys, who cares? They are under-resourced or not properly trained. All these things is what you saw is a little tiny portion of what we need to be addressing. People behaving, fighting, beating people, mob justice, all that. That's just one little part of it. But it's a combination of lots of things that need to be addressed at the national level. And so,
go to the budget. If you look at the budget, you'll see why. Victor,
there you go.
I want you to conclude on this. And what do you think the solution will be? Or supposed to be? How do we address this mob justice thing? And how do we help the president? He's crying for help.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is what Duke is laying out. Giving the law enforcement, enabling them to be more agile, to be nimble. But more importantly, I think this is a cause and effect problem we're addressing. I think the president is looking at the effect. Why is there mob justice? I think it's because there is a lack of confidence in our law enforcement authority to enforce the law. I believe it was Jerome or Gabriel, or probably Jimmy. But the fact that, look, you have to be on the receiving end of this angst, this anguish to understand. Somebody comes to you and robs you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, then you understand why people take matters into their own hands, And so this is happening to people, I was out last year when I came, a friend of mine was telling me around Congo Town, there is a whole underworld, there is a whole government that is being run by a gentleman in the Congo Town area, who is the ringleader of these people, They take these things and take them to him, some people are successful in going to retrieve whatever they took from them at a cost, at a fee, and so these kind of things are happening.
So
The LEC going,
quickly, Dennis. Let me
And
quickly.
30
This
seconds. We got to move to our last
30
point.
seconds. The other side of this whole mob justice that we're not looking at, maybe that's the perspective from which the president was coming from to actually now come to plead to everybody to do something about it, is the economic side. Meaning, if you have a country where people that are coming into your country know that if you make a mistake, you harm anybody in the street, there's a possibility you may not make it alive. It diminishes the tourist population in your country, right? Before people go to that country, they will caution themselves. They will think twice. Why would I even want to go to this country, right? And this is not the kind of image we want to put out there for a country. And I'm sure he could have elaborated on why he wants
what
this.
is he doing about it? We all know the issue. We all know the danger of what he's doing. But what are you doing? If you have not investigated the one that happened in Foya during your campaign,
that's the point that I was making earlier.
Because we want more action. But this will take us to our last point. And in fact, if you want to be part of the conversation, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Last weekend, the political leader of the CMC, Citizen for Change, they are in Manchester, the UK. Number one, Mr. Bility was invited to keynote the inauguration at the Liberian's Mandingo in that part of the world. He used that time to also launch the CMC Global. The unabashed and unapologetic sedition who has crossed over was there, and he was in the crowd. So, Mr. Gayman,
I can call it political what?
Political leader.
No. I think I call it when you jump from one side to the other. Political. There's a name behind it. Political.
They're cross-carpeting. You cross-carpet.
Political for Joe.
No, don't call that name. So, Mr. Gayman, what you were in the hall, and just give us a little bit of what happened in UK. You were there. You said already you are the vice president for operation. No, the president for operation.
administration.
Okay. You were in the hall when Mr. Bility made statement, which have caused a firestorm. First of all, tell me, what was Mr. Bility in the UK to do, and who was he specifically addressing when he made those statements?
Well, we have assembled in Manchester, the UK, to launch the CMC Global. And an invitation was extended to Honorable Bility to be the keynote speaker for the Mandingo Association of the UK. And we escorted him to the installation. And it was at the installation that he spoke about why the Mandingos or Islam have not festered very well in Liberia, despite the fact that they've been there for a heck of a long time. And he went into some of the reasons why he thought so. And then he gave some of the solutions that he thinks will enhance the causes of these folks. So what he said, few things that he dissected. First was that in any society, for any group of folks to succeed, you have to be fully integrated. And he felt like the Mandingos, and by extension the Islamic faith, they have not done well by harnessing the energy and the liberalism of Islam to the larger part of Liberia. Instead, They got bad actors that have made Islam to look terrible in the eyes of many folks, especially in Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Gamer. We have the video and we want to play just a snippet of what Mr. Bility said.
Are beginning to mind up and women up and do things that will transform and properly interpret the true meaning of Islam to the rest of Liberia. And I want to thank you for this, because Islam, in my understanding and going to school, is the most liberal religion in the world. Our refusal or our silence on interpreting Islam has caused Islam more harm than it should actually be. We are the religion that accepts the belief of other people.
That fast forward.
Church, it has never affected my faith and my belief and my pride as a Muslim, but it also has never in any way made me to ask my wife to change her religion. We can do it as a Muslim. We can sell our religion. We are the most liberal faith in the world. We can bring that to bear on the Liberian society. We can change Liberia with Islam. We can make Liberians to look at Islam differently, and that can start tonight.
All right. At the end that he said, all these good things that I've said, we can bring that to bear in Liberia. We can make Liberians to look at Islam differently, and we can use Islam to change Liberia. And so people see Islam differently. I want to start with you, Mr. Dukley, and I'm asking you that Mr. Bility was in there to speak to the Liberian Mandingo Association. Why is he talking Islam? Is he using Mandingo and Islam interchangeably?
No, I think it is very important, and this is no defense for Mr. Bility. I think you need to understand the context in which he was speaking. I guess the overall message that I got from that statement was his openness and his tolerance to non-Muslims. And he even went further by stating,
what does that have to do with the Mandingo Association? Why is he talking Islam instead of talking
Mandingo? I'm coming. I mean, this is how I understood it. And others might understand it differently, but this is how I understood it. I think he was using his faith as an example of how well he has been as a person by saying that, listen, I'm married to a non-Muslim, and I've been married for over 20 years, and I've had no problem, meaning anybody can do the same thing. I mean, it doesn't, I guess this is how I understood it, that he was speaking more of tolerance. And that's what I say. You need to take the context into account. I don't think, and what he said, it's not something new that he's the first person to have said that. We've heard other people of other faiths have said similar things, where they use their...
My question is, he's talking to the Liberian Mandingo Association, not the Liberian Muslim Association.
Exactly, right.
That's the question.
I agree. It doesn't matter. And I don't think, listen, it's not all Liberian Mandingos that are Muslims.
Exactly. That's my point.
You have to get this. So not because everybody in that room were Mandingo, it doesn't necessarily mean they were all Muslims. So Mandingos are not 100% Muslim. There are Christians. There are non-believers.
Why is he addressing them like he addressing Islam?
In a monologue.
Right, because he's using Mandingo and Islam interchangeably. Is that what he's doing? Because that's
I didn't see it that way, and I didn't read it that way. Again, I thought his message was because he is one of them, but he's not married to a Mandingo woman, and he's been married. So what he was simply telling them, you don't have to stick to only marrying somebody from your faith, even though others will see it differently. So he
that
cited
the
himself.
He's assuming
What?
that the faith of all Mandingo people is Muslim.
Is Islam
Islam.
is Muslim, right?
Yeah, but
That's the
that's a very false premise to assume that all Mandingos are Muslims.
But
I
that's,
don't
that's my
think
question to you. But let me go to Jimmy. Jimmy, we'll come to the merits and the demerit of his statement. But what I want to see here is, who is he addressing? Is he addressing Mandingo, or is he addressing Muslim, or he take the two to be the same?
I think what you're trying to point out is significant. Being Mandingo and being Muslim should not be used synonymously, because that will leave out those Mandingos who are very much Mandingo, just as equal as any Muslim Mandingo. You're leaving them out. I think, even though I hear some trying to defend it, I think for a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, they think being Mandingo also being Muslim.
Yep.
And that is, they take it for granted. And unfortunately, I think being Mandingo has to have its own direction, its own definition, its own orientation, and its own bearing. Now, it may coincide with the religious aspects of follow Muhammad, but at the same time, it has to have its own definition. And I think by not recognizing the other elements of being Mandingo, the prolific commercialization, the way they have extended themselves throughout Africa, I think you're just looking at a small portion of being Mandingo. I think he didn't do justice in that respect, and I would like to hear him say the reason why, and then maybe we get a clearer understanding of what he intended to say.
Let me go to Victor, who is also CMC. Musa is in that place for CMC and then for Mandingo. He's highlighting Islam because I'm a Christian, but the more we use, he's highlighting Islam as if he may run the risk, in my view, of being like ACO, right? That everybody look at has a Muslim party, has a Mandingo party, right? So if you are highlighting this and say we and talking Islam, well, our friend Jerome was in the hall. I don't know if he felt a certain type of way, but do you think that Musa took the right approach in addressing this? You are there at CMEC and they're highlighting Islam as if Islam and Mandingo and CMC are synonymous.
So let me ask you this, Dennis. How often have we not sat in the crowd and a speaker comes and addresses all the Christian ideas and Christian principles, in spite of the fact that there are people in the crowd who may not be Christians? The assumption is the predominant attendees are Christians. It happens all the time. I think what we're doing here is much ado over nothing. And I think we're the one who are actually trying to find, you understand me, faults in where there is none. Musa got in the hall where they were predominantly Mandingo and predominantly Muslims. You could see the way they were all dressed up, not to be stereotypical. But it was very evident.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's why I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly what happened. And I think we're picking the tea leaves here. We have to be careful here. I understand the attempt to be balanced here, but I think we're leaning. What we're doing here is we're finding faults where there really isn't any. So
let me ask you this, Mr. Nabe.
Are we really though?
Let me ask you this. There are issues when you are addressing a crowd, because his audience, you are telling me that his audience was predominantly Muslim, and so he should use he should talk that way, because he was not highlighting there are serious issue about Mandingos that he could have highlighted.
Yeah, but
Jerome was.
But he instead was, I believe, he was using Islam and Mandingo interchangeably, which is dangerous.
Can I chime in here?
Hang on, Jerome. Jerome. Before we go to Dennis, how do we make the determination that Islam is dangerous?
No. I didn't say that.
No, you're saying you're using Mandingo and Islam interchangeably. That's what you said. which
Yes.
is dangerous. Now you
Yes.
tell me, where is it danger? Where do you get the assumption?
Meaning you're
Right.
leaving out the other group.
Hang on. You're coming. I want Dennis to address this
Right.
for
Right.
me.
If
I
you
want you
if
to identify for me where the danger is here. Tell me.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is Mandingo and Islam, are they interchangeable? The answer is no. Right?
They may not be, but does that make it dangerous? The
No,
answer
no,
is
the
no.
answer is no, right?
The
Because
answer is no. And I'm asking you.
anytime we paint a broad brush on a group of people to say all Mandingos are Muslims or all Muslims are Mandingos, that's dangerous, because when we attacked, when the war came and we were painting the broad brush on people and we tried to paint everybody like that, we attack them that way because we say every Mandingo is Muslim.
Yeah, but then that premise is not true.
Right? So if we continue to do that, if we don't delineate, because we shouldn't take it only when it's good.
No,
because on the other side, it's going to be bad.
Can I chime in? Can I chime in
It's
here?
going to be bad on the other side.
Because I was in the hall, but okay, let's look at when he said, you got to listen to the whole tape where he said, you are building, you are purchasing, the objective of this fundraiser is to purchase a hall for the youth, the community center. He said the community center, the worst thing you can ever do is to call it an Islamic center. It should be a center that caters to all faiths, all people. It should be a center that does good for mankind.
Yes.
You should not bar Christian, you should not bar non-Christian. It should be a place of congregation for everybody, because we are trying to integrate to make sure that our children are exposed to all culture. Then he gave himself as an example. He said, I got married in a church. My wife is
non-Muslim.
Yeah, my wife is a non-Muslim. She's a.
And we're coming to a statement. The premise I was setting is
but to only pinpoint.
No, it's not only.
What are 10 major things that happen? It is you are looking for fault. To validate whatever belief.
It's not. I think you guys are looking at this
That's
in
the
the
beginning
wrong
of the
way.
discussion, right? We're going to go to the merit of the statement. We're going to discuss a statement. But my first question was, why is he using the two interchangeably? Gabriel, let me
say this. He was installing the officers of the Muslim Association.
No, Mandingo Association, not Muslim.
No. Look, I was sending you the release, and I want you to put it on the screen, please. I'm sending it to you now. And please put it on the screen for your guest. All right, I'm sending it to you. Just give me a moment.
It was the release from where now? The group in the UK, is it the Liberia Muslim Association or the Liberia Mandingo Association?
It's the Mandingo.
It's the Mandingo. Jerome, you were there. It's the Liberia Mandingo Association, not Muslim.
Where's the release?
He was.
Go ahead.
And Dennis, I agree with you on this point here. And I think we're trying to trivialize this to make it seem as if there is nothing. There was nothing there. We're making a big deal out of a trivial statement that was made. Again, it goes back to the question that Dennis asked. Imagine all of us in a hall, right? And I'm speaking to all of you from that as if all of you guys are Muslim, while some of you guys are Christian, right? It cannot. I this was one of the questions that I have on my note here for him. Had he shown up, to ask him. This is how I want all of you to look at this. If it's just you and I, we're not in leadership position, but if you were, you have to be cognizant of the context of your species, right? The group to which you're presenting. Yes, the majority of that group may have been people of the Islamic faith, but even if there is one person there, you have to be cognizant of that, right? You have to be cognizant of that, and that's the basic thing that we're trying to establish it. Not that he's trying to use this. What there's nothing. You have to be cognizant. If you're in a leadership position, you speak collectively. You don't speak from a monolithic standpoint, because you risk offending other people, especially the kind of country we have.
But Gabriel, just give me a minute. Let me interject here.
Hang on, Duke.
What you just said now, even at the
Hold on. Let Boakai come first, and then
even at the national level, at the legislature, at the presidency, at everywhere. Do you see how business is conducted? It's all conducted based on as if everybody in the room is a Christian, where even though Muslims are there,
and that is the problem. That is the problem.
So
I'm not trying to, Dennis, quickly. I'm not trying to. There's a problem. You know how we always say Liberia is a Christian nation. Liberia is not a Christian nation.
Let him finish.
Yeah, but that's why.
To be, hey, Christian,
yeah, but that's why I said you have to look at the statement in its entirety, because he did go and specify, even though this is Mandingo or Muslim, but let everybody have access. To me, what I took from it was tolerance and openness. And I think that's why he used his personal example of being married to non-Muslim, and he's been married for 20 years, and it has not affected his faith. So he's simply trying to tell people how you should be open-minded, how you should be tolerant. And really, like I said, this is what we do even at the national level in Liberia. They treat everybody as if everybody... Look, Bushman Keita is a Mandingo. He's not a Muslim. He's the legal advisor to the president. So let's assume a Bushman Keita was in that audience. Would he be offended because he's not a Muslim? No. So I mean I don't think we should forget about the context here and I don't see anything wrong with what he said.
It's because of the context. If the excuse is okay, Christian do it too, let Muslim do it, then you can say that. But what we are saying is
that's just one part of it.
We have seen a lot of this. We've seen where the country people wear religion on their sleeve.
That's
Today
right.
was Easter. Yesterday was Easter. Today Easter. Monday they stay on Easter. I'm not saying one religion should do it over the other. I'm saying sometimes it's hard to be minority, so you don't feel when you are so minority always like to fight back. But we should also be honest enough to point this out when they are happening. Victor, let me hear you.
I sent you 2 releases, Dennis. One from Musa Hassan Bility himself. There is one from Melvin Deshiu. It concerns citizen, both of them. I mean, he lives in the UK. The both releases are clarifying that Musa Hassan Bility went to install officers of the Muslim community. Please put that release on the screen, the very second paragraph.
Good. Jerome, you were there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This could be, was Musa there to install Muslim community or Mandingo community?
Well, like I said, we escorted the okay, to this Muslim community, mostly because when we went, all the folks that I met.
I love politics. I love it. I love politics.
And Boakai, that speaks to my
No,
point,
but then
right?
why are you refusing to put it release on the screen, though?
No, I don't. You say you sent it to me. Where did you send it?
I sent you 2 releases directed to you. I didn't put it in your regular.
What is direct?
I love
WhatsApp,
politics.
Messenger. What is
I
it?
sent it to Dennis on the WhatsApp.
You didn't say that. I believe it. They say it, right? So, Boakai, do you see my point? So, if he's addressing Muslim and say that, that's okay. If he's addressing Mandingo and he says that, that's the one I was having issue with. So, let's agree now that it's Muslim, it's not Mandingo. Does that support what I was saying, Mr. Dukley?
Yes, it does.
So, if he's speaking to Mandingo and speaks that way, we'll have a problem with it. That's my point.
Well, now that the release just says specifically that he was addressing Muslim, I think that point is now muted.
Right. But it shouldn't be mute because so then you should come back and say, well, if you were addressing Muslim, I mean Mandingo, then you shouldn't have said that. But we want to deny that too. Right?
Well, I don't think
that's the beauty of being a politician, Dennis. It's a craft.
This is when Trump speaks. Everything they say, okay.
My thing is a beautiful speech that have 3 or 4 pillars. You want to rely on one because it satisfies your suspicion.
No.
You have not talked about The
We're coming
tolerance.
to we're coming to that. I told you we'll talk about the speech, but who is he speaking to?
Okay.
So now, Victor sent me this statement. He says clarification remarks made in Manchester. He said during my my attention has been drawn to a snippet of my speech delivered last night at Manchester, where I was honored to address the Muslim community during the induction ceremony of their newly elected leaders and fundraising event of the construction of a community center. So he went on to say, so that's the main thing you want to say is Muslim community. But do you know, I really don't believe, prior to this time, all we have heard was you were addressing the Mandingo community. This, even before Jerome and I spoke with him, Musa had gone to induct into office the Liberian Mandingo Association. Now, because of this statement he made, he's saying, well, I'm talking to Muslim, not Mandingo. If that's the case, that's fine. Let's go into the speech. One thing he said that a lot of people have problem with, which I didn't find problematic, he said, let's use Islam to change Liberia. In other words, the same values.
I think a desire. We need clarification on that in terms of his intent, right? The context. Again, this is what we talk about: the context of what he means by that, to use Islam to change Liberia. Because again, you can look at the second part of it, where he talks about change. He talks about Islamic faith being a liberal, right? Again, there's a little bit of vagueness to that. How do you contextualize how liberal the faith is, and what do you mean by changing Liberia?
But what is the problem do you have with that statement, Dennis?
No, did I say I have a problem?
No, I'm just asking.
No, did I say I have problem with it? I said I don't have problem with that statement.
I think we need a little bit of clarification on that, right? In terms of what you mean by that, by using Islamic.
The way I understood it, he talked about their values as Muslim, and he said we can use those values to change Liberia.
That's right. Yeah,
and that's how I understood it. That's my only problem with it was he was. So that's why I said what a lot of people found problem with, I didn't see it to be a problem.
Well, I think, like you said, rightly, the Islamic values. I mean, they are like any other value. It could be the Christian value, what Christians see as value, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially when what he's talking about. Like I said, the way I see it, or the way I understood it, he was mostly talking about tolerance. Let us be tolerant of one another.
Mm-hmm.
But let me come here.
But you can be preaching tolerant and still doing different things. So if you are, so that's why. So you should allow people to scrutinize a statement without feeling that he's being targeted.
And that's
I'm not. Look, listen, Dennis. I will tell you something. Just for a personal disclosure here, I am married to a non-Muslim, and I've been married for 30 years. Okay. I've been married for 30 years to a non-Muslim who is a Jehovah's Witness. Okay? And I usually tell my wife, if you want to know anything about Islam, look at me. Don't go outside. Don't watch everybody here. Look at me. I am the personification of Islam. Whatever I do, I'm a Muslim. Look at me. And I encourage her to go to university and study about Islam. And she did. So she is more knowledgeable about Islam today than many so-called Muslims, because I'm open-minded, I'm very tolerant, and I think these are values that Liberia can benefit from.
Yeah,
and I think a similar message that Dennis was, Musa Benedict was talking about.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Let's address the biggest elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, which is, if you talk to any Liberian, any Christian male, anywhere you go, that the tolerance that Musa is talking about is that all, including you are a Muslim man married to a Christian woman. But when it comes to a Christian man married or a Muslim woman,
yes,
I don't know whether it's true or not, you or scholar, you will tell us, they will say, no, it is forbidden in Islam for the women to marry non-Islamic folks.
Yes.
This is the cross. They don't want to tell you that, but if that is the case, then where do we get the tolerance from? You address. Is it true that in the Quran or in your studies, in your livelihood, that you can marry Christian women, but Christian men cannot marry your Islamic women?
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. The religion forbids non-Muslim men marrying Muslim women. Yes, the religion forbids that, and there are theological justification for that. Okay.
So you agree now when the typical person says you are talking tolerance and forbidding tolerance.
No. Listen.
That is true.
Listen.
That is
No. Listen.
fiction.
You see. The theology that says that, or the theology that allows that, there are fundamentals that must be met. Okay. And so that's how the religion is formed. This is how it came. And again, like I said, this is going to require a whole show for me to sort of explain it to you in detail. Okay.
So just quickly, what is different from a Muslim man marrying a non-Muslim woman than the vice versa?
Right.
That's how it is ordered in a religion. That is how it's ordered.
That's what God said.
So there are certain things in the religion. I will give you an example. Prophet Muhammad married, I think, 11 or 12 times. Okay, that's the number of time he married. But Muslims are allowed to marry only 4 wives, and even that marriage is conditional. There are certain conditions that must be in place before that can be allowed. Now, with that said, Prophet Muhammad was an exception, and we are told that he was an exception, and the reason was given why he was an exception. So these are all theological matters. Again, like I said, this is not it does require a detailed explanation that I don't think this is the right place for me to do it at the present time. But those things are not.
Let me ask you one
Wait
question.
now, you on this one? You want Muslim woman? Or
No. I just want clarification, Mr. Dukley. Now that you, people are, I agree that Islam is very liberal in that sense that he's talking about. You, as an educated liberal Islamic scholar, married to a Christian woman, will you marry your daughter to marry my son who is not Islamic?
No.
I mean, blatantly, no, like without hesitation.
Because here's the thing. First of all, you have to understand, even me as a Muslim marrying non-Muslim, there are guidelines that must be met. You don't just go and jump on and marry non-Muslim.
No. For my son to marry your daughter. What's that?
Pardon me? Yeah, the only condition under which I will let your son marry my daughter if your son can agree to convert to Islam. Okay, that is the rule. That is the rule. And again, even us who married to non-Muslim, we are told the instruction is that you are allowed to marry anyone from the people of the book. What that simply means, she must have a religious reference, even if that religion is not Islam. Meaning, that reference is Bible, the Torah, whatever you want to call it. But people of the book, as it's mentioned in the Holy Quran. That's the condition. You don't just marry anybody. So that is how the religion is that's how it was revealed. And there are a lot of other things that must come to play, like I said. But
I want to ask you, Brother Dukley, don't you consider lack of liberalism?
It's not liberal. It's not even tolerance.
Okay. Now, what you guys are conflicting here, there are something called, we say the religion, Islam, it is our transactions. There are transactions, there are rituals, and there are rules that govern those two. All right. And this exists in every religion, as a matter of fact. It's not only unique to Islam. So
I agree.
To just pick on the fact that because Islam says that women must marry only to Muslims and not the other way around, there are rules for that, and there are reasons why this is said. So it's not just something, again, you might not agree with the logic of it, but it does exist, and it exists on a very, very sound basis. Many other examples are there that can tell you that Islam is very liberal in many aspects of life, And so I don't want you to just
I
because
have
we're
one
talking about.
question for you.
And
I
that
have
is
one
not
question for you, Mr.
liberalism.
They are
Duke.
liberal
You're
only
using
on that
No,
liberalism
let
out of context.
me let me ask one
That
question.
is not liberalism.
I said,
Go
Brother
ahead, Jimmy.
Duke, my question is,
Yes.
did Prophet Muhammad instruct those conditions, or were they made later on by some secular authority?
Okay, I will tell you this. Islam is governed by two sources: the Holy
and the
Quran,
Hadith.
which we consider to be the Word of God, and the teachings and the saying and the actions of Prophet Muhammad. Islam is governed by those two, and in actual practice, those two don't contradict each other. Okay, because whatever Muhammad says was inspired by Allah, according to the Quran, and so those are the two sources that govern Islam, our actions, everything we do. And I will give you a very simple example. You have Muslim that says, you can't eat pork, right? Because it is clearly stated that there are things that we are not supposed to eat, and pork was mentioned among those. Then the Prophet Muhammad said, if you are wherever you are hungry and you come upon pork and it's what you will eat to survive, eat pork. So they're not just saying don't eat pork and be rigid about it. So you see here the circumstances of your life allows you to eat pork. If you are going to lie and your lie is going to save marriage, even though we are told don't lie, but your lie will save a marriage, lie to save a marriage. This is transactions. All right. So in Islam, these are the two areas where many people, including some so-called Islamic Muslims, who conflict these two. And so we are, for example, I'm living in a country that is non-Islamic country. It's not a Muslim country. So there are a lot of exceptions that applies to me here because I'm not in an Islamic land. I'm not in a land that lives by Sharia. And so I don't want you to get hang on this one thing because Islam said a Muslim woman cannot marry non-Muslim, and to the contrary, Muslim men can marry non-Muslim woman. So
And this is why. This
No,
is why.
hold on, right?
Quickly.
Because the thing that
Dennis,
important
quickly.
to somebody, then you say they shouldn't hang on it.
No, Dennis.
no.
quickly, this is-
I'm just trying to tell you there are many other things that can tell you that Islam is liberal.
Mr. John.
It's the same
Dennis?
thing you said when we came to
Mr.
watch.
John.
You say, "Oh, he said a lot of good things. Why are you only talking about this one?"
This
Mr.
is
John.
why. This is
Mr.
why I
John,
don't
real
think
quick.
any political
Hold
leader
on,
should be
Gabriel,
bringing out.
Victor,
This
then
is
before
why.
you, because Victor
This
is
is why
kind of
I
blown
don't
away.
think any
So-
political leader should be pitching faith, because if you go to Christian, there's contradiction in the Bible as well. There's contradictions such as do not be equally on yoke, right? It applies to the same thing that Mr. Dukley is saying, right? Meaning, if you are a Christian and you think this person is not in line with your faith, do not be equally on yoke with that individual. This is why I don't think people who call themselves political leader, if you're going to pitch yourself in that light, to be pitching religion, because it's dangerous. That's a dangerous territory. Look what we're doing right here, right? Because of someone trying to bring in the teaching of Islam to think that this is something that every Liberian we can use, and then all of a sudden we're poking hole into it, right? If you're going to lead people, you're not leading one person for one religion. You're leading for everybody, and you speak in that context. That's the danger. That's the danger part about this. It's not that we're poking hole at what he said about Islam or not, but the fact
Thank
that
you.
other people are there who are not Muslim, and you pitching yourself to be a political leader, you're pitching yourself to rule, to govern for everybody.
Especially
That's the
when you are
danger.
addressing a political rally, you are addressing Mandingos, and then everything you say is, let's do this the Islamic way. Let's do this. And by the way, focus on that. But that's one of the things that we are very committed to. We are teaching, we are bringing Islamic scholars to teach so that we understand one another, so that this is towards a vibrant country, right? So next Sunday, please join me here, where Imam Dukle will be teaching on the Sharia law, polygamy, the role of women, human rights, and blasphemy, according to the Quran. Because we got to learn, and everything we do here is so that people will learn. But even at that, and we should have had a show yesterday, right? Listen to this. I forgot that yesterday was Easter. So I advertised the show, and people came at me and say, why will you do this show on the Christian holiday? And you will offend a lot of people. I didn't see it that way, but they talked. So when the calls were getting too many, I called the Imam. The Imam said I was thinking about it the same way. So let's just take it to next Sunday. So that's what we will be doing this next Sunday. So please join us. But even at that, when something is wrong, let's point it out. The idea that, hey, and Christian do it too is not the answer. Go ahead, Victor, and then Jerome.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I thought you forgot about me there for a minute. But listen, yes, what I wanted to say is I think we've gone way off tangent here. You know, I mean, who here is an Islamic scholar? I mean, why are we
Mr. Dukle?
Mr. Dukle is an Islamic scholar.
Okay, I grant him that. But I think this was not the topic, the discussion here. The discussion is the allegations being levied against the political leader of the CMC as being a religious bigot and as trying to impose, all right, religious practice. I don't even want to, you know. And so I thought that's what we're discussing here. How come do we go to what Islam allows, what it doesn't allow, and all of that? I think we should look at I sent you the speech. You read it. I wish you had put it up on the screen. And I want us to remind us. You say you had conversations prior to this press release that indicated that Mr. Dukle went to address the Mandingo people. And I'm not going to argue with you.
No, Jerome is sitting right here. I spoke with Jerome, who was there.
The facts are in print. The facts are in print, and I sent two different press releases announcing the same event that Mr. Dukle was addressing officers of the Muslim Association in the UK. Unless so if the man is speaking in context, if you go to install officers of the Catholic Association or of the Episcopalian, are you not going to be talking about Episcopalian principles? Yes, you will. So how do we take an address that was intended for a select few, and now we're going to take and generalize this over the whole country? I think that's disingenuous, and I think that's what we're trying to do here.
No,
if you want to really do it, then play the whole speech.
Mr. Nabe,
everybody hear the whole speech. But I think what we're doing here,
Mr. Nabe, with all due respect, before this day, before today, before the controversy, the news that was reported that he was going to address the Labrador Mandingo Association. Right after the fallout from the speech,
with all due respect, I didn't hear that news, but
right,
I'm sure you did.
And I'm telling you, Jerome Gilmer was in the crowd. I asked him, "What did Musa go to UK to do?" He told me, and he's repeated on this show, that he was there to induct into office the Labrador Mandingo Association. So I said, "Why is he addressing the Mandingo as if he's using Mandingo and Muslim interchangeably?" That was my point.
Yeah, but Mr. Jai, even if you went to
no, don't say even, just establish the fact. What did he go there to do?
No, I would not contradict what the
political leader said.
Right. That's the official statement that you can go. But even if you were talking to the Mandingos, right? Anyway, you say we are going to the different points that he mentioned. That was one that what are the other points from the particular from his speech that you want us to discuss? Because I saw many other points that I thought about tolerance, about the economy, about healthcare, about opening the facilities to all non-Muslims to benefit.
You want CMC campaign, then you got to pay for the slap, my man.
It looks like we're not on Facebook. I don't know if let you guys check it, but
no, we are on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dukle is still reading. So yeah, a lot of people, the part that the controversial part was, he said we will use Islam to change Liberia, and that's the part most people were, posting about. And I played that. Jimmy, you heard it. I want to get your response. on that last piece. Listen to it again.
For Christian, I got married in the church. It had never affected my faith and my belief and my pride as a Muslim, but it also had never in any way made me to ask my wife to change her religion. We can do it as a Muslim. We can sell our religion. We are the most liberal faith in the world. We can bring that to bear on the Liberian society. We can change Liberia with Islam. We can make Liberians to look at Islam differently, and that can start tonight.
Jimmy, has any country been changed through any religion? At least
Oh.
India has about 3 million gods. But
Yes.
Mr. Bility is saying we can change Liberia with Islam. Is there any record of
To
any
Islam,
country being changed with religion?
History will tell us that rulers like Constantine, like Mansa Musa, they have been very instrumental in imposing religion on the people. Constantine especially is credited for having compromised Christianity in its true sense, because he allowed pagan practice to be incorporated in Christianity. So yes, we have seen where rulers have been very influential in imposing religion on people. But if you look at religion of itself, it's a philosophy, it's a way of thinking and a way of behaving. It instructs how you should behave, how you should react. People do say it's transactional, like Brother Duku was talking, but it's also a whole condition of the mind and what you think. It's not just transactional; it's how your whole mindset is. So, for religion does affect the one's way of thinking. It depends on your faith, how it will affect you one way or another. It can be done. However, we've seen also the polarization of people due to their religious belief. That's why we see Boko Haram in Nigeria, what they've been doing. We've seen the Taliban in Pakistan, and so we've seen also this has a two-edged sword. Sometimes it polarizes people, but sometimes if with a proper orientation, one will be very tolerant. And I will land with this. The example of the Good Samaritan in the Bible tells us how we should behave to people who are not of our same origin or from village. Two faithful Jews, one of being a Levite, a priest, and the other another religious leader, passed by a man who had been robbed and brutalized. Mm-hmm. But it was the Samaritan, that person who was of a different faith, that took him in, put him in, clean up his sores, and put up money for him to stay in an inn. So that is how Christians are taught.
Mr. Judge, I think you got people on the line waiting for you.
But I want to ask you before I go there, Mr. The same question I asked: can we change Liberia with any religion? And let's say we're changing Liberia with Islam, and you are very much sticky on the point that you are not able to marry Muslim women. Mm-hmm. Would that be anything that we can use to change Liberia? And I've been sarcastic here. Can we use religion? Because we cannot be saying the separation of church and state. So people will come and say, hey, Liberia will be on Christian principles, so let's do this, let's do that. And we are saying this is wrong. This is a fallacy. Liberia is not a Christian nation. So if you come up now and say we can change Liberia with Islam, what does that mean to you, Mr. Gaiman? And can we do that? Either change Liberia with Islam or any other religion?
I think it is. We take it. This one I think is strictly out of context here. I think he was speaking about the perception of Liberian on Islam or Muslim people. Okay, Liberia is not looking at Islam or the people who practice Islam.
So how do you think we can change Liberia with Islam? How do you
Yes,
think we
but
can do that?
no, not with Islam. It is changing the perception of Islam. That's what he was talking about.
No. He
It's
said
not
we can
changing-
change Liberia with Islam, and we can change the way people look at. We can make people to change the way they look at Islam through us. Those are the two
So
things he said.
Dennis, there is. Let me interject
Well,
here.
let Jerome end because there is CMC.
No, let me
people.
interject. Let me save Jerome, and I want to be honest. I want to be fair here. I listened to the speech, and here's I think here's what you're looking for. I think what he said, we want to integrate Islamic faith into the grid of society, right? And I think he went on to clarify that to say there are a lot of, Muslim or people of Islamic faith in the society, but they haven't been integrated well in the society, right? And I think what he meant to say is that to integrate, meaning to bring them into politics or any other areas of the government.
Like who?
That, that I can agree with, meaning that hey, you cannot just be part of a society and you're on the sideline without partaking in a greater economy of the society. If I want to be a leader, I want to integrate
hold on.
Let me help Jerome here, Dennis.
Are you saying
I want to integrate them into the greater society. I can agree with.
Are you saying Muslims are not integrated in the society? I'm not talking. Are you saying Muslims are not integrated in society?
Go listen to the speech again. You'll see the part that I'm talking about.
Yeah, so
maybe Victor can hear me out here again.
Yeah, let me bring in one caller. He's complaining. He's on the line. And then we are about to close. We pass our 2-hour mark. Evokes, you are live. Go ahead, sir.
All right, Mr. John, thank you, and hello to the panelists. Look, I think what Musa Bility did was disingenuous, and people use this to prey on the ignorance of Christians and people who are not Muslim. What he's touting there about being a Muslim man marrying a Christian woman, it's permissible in Islam. He's not going against the norm. Muslims are allowed to marry what they call Ali Kitab, people of the book, especially Muslim men. They're allowed to marry Christian women and Jewish women as long as they have complete, waliya or complete dominance over that woman. So he's not doing anything or going against the norm. People who are ignorant to Islam don't know these things. So he's saying it like he was capitulating in the sake of interfaith marriages, it's not that. But let me say this. Lastly, look, if we're talking politics, religion, ethnicity is always involved in our politics. There are political parties that are based around religious, sentiments. Most people will say ALCOB is a Muslim party, be it true or not. But the reality is, this new party that Musa Bility has started, he's not starting a party for all Liberians as you see it, because he's infusing religion into it. If he wants this party to grow, I know Mr. Gamey, I don't know if he's officially part of that party, and Mr. Namwe, they're both Christians from my observation. He's talking about using his political platform to spread Islam. As a Bible-believing Christian, is that what you're in favor of? Being a part of a political organization that's advocating spreading of Islam through political means? So I completely disagree with that. When it comes to the substance of Musa Bility politics, I think his money is his biggest asset. Outside of that, he's not a bona fide politician. He uses money to get into organization, buy his way in, and strong arm his way using cash violence. So this is not a man who has done anything politically from the grassroots. Money has been his common denominator in any political faction that he's joined. But on the Islamic part of it, he's being disingenuous. And I think unless people come on the show who know something about Islam, these guys will always pull the wool over your head because they know you're ignorant and they know you didn't study Islam, so you don't know what the Quran says about intermarriage between Muslim and Christian. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me read for you what was published about this event before this day. Right. Liberian Mandingo Association UK set for grand inauguration and Eid celebration. So if you go through the story and other stories that I've read on this, so the Liberian Mandingo Association UK, April 19, 2025, in the United Kingdom is set to host a historic official inauguration ceremony in Manchester, marking a significant milestone of the Liberian Mandingo community in the UK. This momentous occasion, and then they went on and on and on. Distinguished guests and high-profile attendees A highlight of the evening will be presence of renowned librarians from both home and abroad, including Honorable Musa Hassan Bility, Lawmaker District Number 7, Nimba County, Ambassador Robert Wilmot Pale, Labros's permanent representative to the IMO, Mr. Musu Kawa, Ambassador Camby Adams, gospel artists, and on and on and on. So this was the thing that was published. And if you read other stories, it's always the Librarian Mandingo. When this fallout came, now they are trying to say something else.
I rest my case, Dennis. You won.
And that's why I'm the best in the business. All right, gentlemen, let's conclude. We are out of time. We always want to do this under 2 hours. So let's go around the room. Let me get anything you want to comment on. It could be the Bility one. It could be the money, whatever. So we can close. Let me start with Mr. Dukley.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis, and thank you to fellow panelists today.
Oh, we got one more on the phone. Let me get.
Okay.
Mr. Lassa is on the phone. He and Victor, they are all politicians. Mr. Lassa, go ahead. No. Sorry, let me unmute. Mr. Lassa, you have a minute because we are closing.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. I must give it to you, man. You are doing your best to project some semblance of honesty and sincerity on that show there today. I'm not accusing anybody on that show of anything. I think people are more concerned about how they may be projected if they speak the size of the issue. It is clear that Musa Bility he said it was a burden. It was a burden. The reason why Islam was not spreading rapidly in Liberia was a burden. And then he said this is a marching order that needs to be implemented. I mean, then you have people on that show, they can't even say it, and then they complain about the ordinary poor Liberians being tribalistic. And these guys are tribalistic in the sense that they are friends and partisans of others about whom they can't afford to even speak the simple truth. Oh my God, how did Musa Bility come to say that religion is the most liberal? You know what liberal means? Which country of that where that religion is the majority that can be any example of democracy? Show me any country, I would tell you how false that is. Nowhere. And the best example you can have of how, if you have that kind of mindset in the country, it can be is Lebanon. Lebanon is a country that allows every religion to be represented in the government and by apportionment. And see how Lebanon is divided. You got the Shia, you got the Christians, you have the Jews, you have the Sunni, all of them there. Simply because that's how it is done there. Nowhere. And Musa is not only discredited, just the Amara Kone, who
don't go there.
A few months ago published, but it's always good to give context. Because he himself did publish a long list, developing mathematical formulas based upon which there should be a quarter used for Boakai to appoint people of a given ethnic group, religious group. This is antithetic to democracy. It's just bad. And we need to be honest with ourselves and see the danger. This is how people overlook these things. What happens, and you have everybody running helter-skelter. Musa, like others like him and Amara, they are not good for that country. They are a huge negative. I have to say that, Dennis. And thank you for trying your best to speak the fact on that show tonight.
Thank you. This is the official promo of the occasion of the program. But I think you get my point.
Sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let me start with Mr. Dukley.
Yes. Thank you, Dennis. And thanks to fellow panelists. It was a very lively debate. And, I think we need to not forget about the essence of our being on this particular show is to educate, to elevate. And, I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. And I think to a greater extent, it's one of the reasons why FOL has the kind of credibility it has because of the objectivity and, what we talk about here. And I think we all mean well. We all mean to really project what FOL stands for. With that said, I think the politics of Liberia is one that we all try to do our best within our means, you know, to talk about the thing that happened in our country, and I think we all mean well, but until such time that the leadership of that country, pay heed to some of the things that have been discussed here, some of the suggestions, we're not going to make any progress, and so we are going to keep holding authorities' feet to the fire until we see some of the changes that we advocate on this particular platform. And I want to commend Dennis for the fact that he tried to bring in every facet of our community, our society, be it religion, be it tribal, be it you name it. This is how we can go forward. One of the reasons why people don't get over their stereotypes is they don't know one another. I'm sure since my being on this show, I know a lot of you have learned from me as much as I have learned from everybody, almost on a daily basis whenever I appear on this particular platform. So I want to say I'm grateful for that opportunity, and we're going to keep holding the authorities' feet to the fire. And then it's nobody is under any illusion that Joseph Walker government is going to do anything different than what we've seen so far. But we are not going to relent. We are going to continue doing what we are doing.
Time finish.
Thank you.
Before you talk about my pape. No, I'm kidding. Gabriel.
Yes, I will be very quick here, and I have to say this. Initially I thought you were, misquoting, the presentation of what happened in the UK. But I think, given what you have shown us, the announcement, for those of you who were trying to distort what actually happened, I think you owed not just Dennis but the audience maybe an apology that this event was indeed to install Mandingo people, right? Officers. I know this is your political leader, and you want to, take his word for what he said, come back and correct, but you got to be honest with yourself too. We have a lot of people watching this show, and they will hold your feet to the fire later on. But anyway, that's besides the point. The other point that I'm trying to make here is that I said this earlier, not just for Musa, for those of you seeking to be in power or hold some kind of leadership, you are not going into power to continue this tribal divide that we've had since our inception as a country. You are ruling for everybody. You are governing for everybody. You're becoming a leader for everybody. And when you speak from that context. Before you say anything, you should think about what your thought, your speech, or whatever you're going to say is going to be taken, how people are going to perceive it. You don't come out here and say you want to integrate Muslim in the society because you feel like this is a matching order, and that is just tells everybody this guy is coming to do one thing, and that is to integrate, to elevate Muslim and only Muslim people. If you're not Muslim, even if that wasn't his intention. So this is a message for all of you looking to get
Thank
into
you.
power. I know politics there's power. You hold power, it becomes very it's people get very like I could listen to all of you here. I was listening to all of you here. How you were evading questions without even you being in any close proximity to power. Now imagine you getting up there.
Gabriel, your time finish.
I'll leave it on here. Thank you.
Jerome.
A great show. A great debate. The Islamization of Liberia that most people are pushing. For me to be part of an organization, for me to follow a leader, people usually say, "Show me your friends, and I will tell who you are." When at the formation of the CMC, Dr. Francine Richardson was elected chair of the global community, the global CMC. Grace Gua was elected CMC USA. I was elected administrative vice president USA.
But who else was running? Because that's what who
But listen to this now. We got
went against you, Jerome? Who went
what?
against you?
There were deep argument there. Real
No, but who
argument
went
about.
against you? You guys were the one that went to UK, right? So there were no other person. So who else could they have elected as the other chair?
But listen, there were chance. They had 6 slots. We have 15 people. So obviously, anybody as people were rejecting, in fact, people were saying that it was one-sided. It was too Eastern based and all that. But what I'm saying here is, out of the election that was held, there was only one person there that was Sekou Kane. Sekou Kane happens to be the only Muslim on that leadership team. So if anybody who is going to formulate public policy, okay?
You guys were pre-selected. That was not democracy.
No, it wasn't I wasn't pre-selected.
Because all of you, when you got seats, what about the people who didn't go, like Nimba?
But now we have a seat.
Anyway, your time finished. Let me go to Nimba.
No. So what I'm saying here, there is no way that Musa Bility will have an agenda to change Liberia through smart people like everybody else on there. If there was, this is not ARCO, no disrespect here, but they claim themselves to be the Mandingo party, so everything is run by Mandingo people. No, this man's political party is being run by diverse people that will bring the kind of result that we all want in Liberia.
We'll call you so we can have the CMC talk.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Mr. Nimba, you're closing.
Well, I was supposed to have come in after Gabriel. You denied me that opportunity. And then you brought Lassa in to speak for 1 minute. He spoke for 3 minutes. I sent you 2 press releases to put on the screen. You chose not to. Instead, you put a brochure on the screen. So I'm just putting it out there so that when we're talking bias, we know how.
No, I'm not going to let you get away.
Yeah,
I read part of it. I read part of it. I thought you were going to bow in shame and say, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know," because
there's absolutely no shame here.
Because Gilman was in the crowd. Gilman, that's why he struggled to admit that this was the Labrador Mandingo Association. But I let it off the hook because I don't want to embarrass him. Go ahead.
So here's what I would say. I saw the brochure you put out, and there seems to have been a disconnect. I give that to you. But I think the general point that we're making here is Musa he started off by saying how liberal Muslim is. He gave his own life background. He's a Muslim married to a Christian, went to a Christian institution. And I think what he's trying to say was that Liberia could take a page out of Islam. This inclusivity. I think that was even used in the press release. I think that's the general point that he was making here. But now to go as far as saying, he's going to take Islam and impose it over Liberia, I think it's a stretch. But I give that to you. I will dig deeper and actually try to understand how the press release is connected to the brochure that you put out today. So, we'll try to understand those things. But I will just leave the stage by saying this, Dennis. I get it. This is the political season. This is the silly season. But we have to really, really, really get our feelings out of these discussions. I think we should discuss the substantive fact of the matter. If I were to host the program tonight, I would play the portion of the speech that preceded what you played, because that is very clear, but that wasn't done tonight. So, and also, I wish Musa had come on the set tonight as you had initially intended, because what comes from the horse's mouth, I think is much more accurate than the rest of us. But again, great show tonight. Thank you for the opportunity. I thank you all, gentlemen, for another brilliant night of FOL Between the Lines.
Dennis, you're muted.
You have a minute.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. It was a fine discussion. And I always appreciate coming here to hear your thoughts. But one thing has transpired here that I really appreciate. If we're going to have religious freedom, in our country. And this religious freedom is touted in several countries, but not every country. But if we're going to have religious freedom, then we have to stratify what should be a priority. So in other words, how can we govern if some religions believe this, some religions believe that? No. So what we do, we have what they call ethics. Ethics should guide us how we govern, how we behave with one another, and how we interact, and all of that. Ethics should be our guiding principle then. But what I must mention that religion has been used to hide, to obfuscate wrong practices. And I will use Christianity because this is what I will use. Jesus Christ talked about it. The Pharisees were supposed to be religious. He said, but they were the worst of all. So be careful, people using religion, because they've used the religion to hide their wrongdoings, their biases, and everything else. So let's stick to our ethics. And if we are going to be ethical in our day-to-day transactions and intermingling, we will have no problem. Our problem has always come down to the ethics of our body politics. And that is where the problem is.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thanks for being here tonight. Also, we thank those who watch. At this time, we're going to end our show by playing our song, We Are All Liberians. Have a good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.